Of course, any continuation of the ceasefire agreement items in any of the phases and implementing it as planned is positive. This cannot be denied, despite of the political Israeli violations or the attacks launched on Palestinians in the West Bank. It is a positive thing, and it did not come from nowhere. There is a tireless follow-up for 24/7 by the mediation committee. The Egyptian role is really big in this, and solving a lot of matters that could have hindered the rounds of swabs during the past few days. There is a lot of attention and determination to continue all the items of the ceasefire agreement and the hostage and detainees exchange, um, solving obstacles and returning Israeli hostages to Israel safely. There is also a lot of work exerted in preparation for the fourth round of exchange tomorrow, and as well as opening the Rafah crossing early from the Palestinian side under the supervision of the European Union Committee, in addition to Palestinian staff from the customs and the security side, of course related to Egypt, in consultation with the European forces, as well as the occupation side. The early opening of the crossing to receive the injured Palestinians is an evidence that Egypt is taking a lot of attention to alleviate the suffering of Palestinian people, especially that there is a call from the UN Secretary to send hundreds of injured Palestinians to receive treatment in Egyptian hospitals in Arish, Cairo, and Mansoura governorates, in addition to resuming the humanitarian aid access through the Rafah crossing or Karm Abu Salim or Lauga, in accordance with the ceasefire agreement items.
Mr. Eldin, Hamas has linked future releases to an Israeli military withdrawal from Gaza, while on the other hand you have Israel insisting on eliminating Hamas's military presence. How do you see this being resolved, and how does this fundamental disagreement shape the future of the ceasefire?
Of course, the second phase won't be easy or smooth, and there is a reluctance from the Israeli side and the far right, supported by Netanyahu, the Prime Minister, in addition to the Palestinian resistance scenes when exchange the hostages, which provokes the Israeli and makes them feel the failure, and they are already failing as they couldn't return any of the Israeli hostages alive by force. And there are also international pressures on the occupation to commit to the exchange items and commitments. We cannot depend on mere statements, but we are dealing with the reality on the ground. The reality here, in spite of violations from the Israeli side and the maneuvers, but the handover and the exchange rounds are being implemented as planned, and we have seen the Rafah crossing being reoperated recently, transporting in the injured from the Palestinian side to Egypt as planned. we are only seeing these media statements from the Israeli side, but on the ground, in reality, uh, we can see the Israeli side stalling to implement the ceasefire as planned, but so far the items is being implemented in spite of the stallation, and there is a huge important role played by Egypt to convince all parties to commit to the ceasefire agreement, to preserve the lives of the Palestinian population and getting life back to the Gaza Strip, ensuring lasting access of humanitarian aid, and rejecting any attempts to the relocation of the Palestinian population, liquidating the Palestinian cause, and preventing the threat to the Egyptian national security.
Now, the ceasefire agreement is currently set for 42 days for the first phase. Do you believe this truce will be extended, or do you think we are likely to see a breakdown in negotiations?
There will be a difficulty and obstacles to implement the second and third phases, but we are hopeful that the voice of reason prevails during the upcoming period, especially that apparently there are side agreements with the far right and the US administration to resume the genocide of the Palestinians unless the Israeli hostages are returned. We're hopeful that the voice of reason and wisdom prevails during the upcoming days, because they are very critical to go smoothly in peace for the success of the agreement. Otherwise, and it is pivotal that the Palestinian resistance side stops the scenes of victory and celebrations, provoking the Israeli forces.
And I just wanted to bring in the humanitarian crisis before we finish. We're looking at now 47,400 casualties reported. The humanitarian crisis in Gaza remains severe. How do these swaps help to calm things on the ground and stabilize conditions for civilians, and perhaps even help with aid getting through?
Of course, what is happening of swap rounds and returning the Israeli hostages and receiving Palestinian detainees from the Israeli forces, and allowing more humanitarian aid to be entered into Gaza from the Egyptian side to the Palestinian crossings. Of course, all of these are positive points, alleviating the suffering that the Palestinian population is going through, whether in the Gaza Strip or other places. We have seen during the past few days the volume of destruction that has been caused in the Gaza Strip, and we have also seen the celebrations of Gazans to go back to their homes, whether in southern Gaza or central Gaza, which is an evidence that the Palestinian people is determined to hold on to their cause and their territories